I used to believe I had everything figured out, a loving wife, 2 beautiful children, and a home filled with joy. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. I worked hard to provide for us, never complaining about the long hours, always making time for family dinners at 7 and bedtime stories by 8. Sundays were for movies together, simple routines that meant the world to me. But recently something changed. My wife, the woman I had loved for over a decade, began to distance herself. At first, it wasn't obvious, just a missed kiss here, a quiet dinner there. I convinced myself it was just stress or fatigue. She'll snap out of it, I told myself. But days turned into weeks, and her silence became louder than any argument we had ever had. No more goodnight kisses, no. How was your day? Just cold stares and endless scrolling on her phone. I noticed it all, the way she smiled at her screen, the constant texts she couldn't ignore, the late nights when she claimed she was too tired to talk. Still, I held on, convincing myself it was just a phase. But deep down, I knew better. My home didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like I was living with a stranger. At first, I told myself I was overthinking. People get busy, right? Work stress, mental exhaustion. I tried to believe that. But little things started adding up. She used to be excited when I came home. I'd walk in, and she'd greet me with a smile that made me feel like the most important person in the world. But lately? Nothing. I'd walk in, and she wouldn't even look up from her phone. She used to be present. Now she was always too busy to talk, too busy to eat with me and the kids. Yet somehow, she was never too busy to laugh at her phone. Every dinner, she had it next to her plate, her face lit up by whatever funny thing she had to see. I'd ask, "Who's so funny?" And she'd give me a lazy, dismissive, "Just a friend." I tried to stay calm. I didn't want to be the paranoid, insecure husband. But it was hard to stay collected when she was sneaking off to run errands at odd hours, stepping outside to take calls she didn't even try to hide. No explanations, just, "I'll be back." And every time she came back, it felt like I lost a little more of her. I wasn't naive. I saw it. I felt it. My wife was still here, but her heart and mind were elsewhere, or worse, with someone else. I didn't think things could get worse until she started giving me the silent treatment. Not the "I'm mad and need space" kind, but the cold, full-on invisibility kind. It was like I was a ghost in my own house. That morning, I said good morning like I always did. Nothing. Not even a glance. I thought maybe she was in a mood, so I gave her space. Hours passed. I asked if she wanted breakfast. Silence. I asked if she was feeling okay. Silence. By noon, I was sitting there, watching her scroll through her phone as if I didn't exist. It wasn't just silence, it was deliberate silence. I tested it. I sent her a text from across the room. "Are you mad at me?" I watched her read it. She didn't respond. Not a flicker of emotion. She just scrolled past it like it was spam. By evening, I stopped trying. I sat with the kids, helping them with their homework while she walked past us like we weren't even there. No goodnight. No see you tomorrow. Nothing. That's when it hit me. I was no longer her husband. I was just there. And if she could act like I didn't exist, maybe it was time I showed her what real absence felt like. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, watching her sleep. Her face was buried in her pillow, peaceful, unbothered, like she hadn't ignored me all day. I could hear her slow, steady breathing. She looked like she owned the world. And something inside me shifted. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm you feel just before making a decision you know you'll never take back. I glanced at the kids' room. They were asleep, tucked in with no worries in the world. And that's when I knew. I wasn't going to let them grow up thinking this was normal. I wouldn't let them believe that silence equals love or that being ignored is something you just accept. If she wanted to act like we didn't exist, I was going to show her what that really felt like. I moved quietly. No sudden movements, no noise. I pulled out the suitcase I had hidden in the garage. The one I bought months ago just in case. I guess that just in case moment had finally arrived. I packed the essentials for the kids, clothes, shoes, their favorite toys. I grabbed my own things, but only what I needed. No extras. No clutter. I wasn't coming back for anything. A clean break. By 3 a.m., I had everything packed. I didn't leave a note. Notes are for people who deserve explanations. I just took one last look at her, still sleeping, still oblivious, and I walked out. I locked the door behind me. The sound of the lock clicking felt final. It felt like freedom. The kids woke up as I buckled them into the car. My youngest rubbed her eyes and mumbled, "Where are we going, Daddy?" I smiled at her, kissed her forehead, and said, "Somewhere better, baby." I started the engine, turned off my phone, and drove. No GPS. No plan. Just forward. I can only imagine what it was like for her that morning. She probably woke up slowly, stretching like she had all the time in the world. No rush, no urgency. She probably reached for her phone first. The same phone she couldn't put down long enough to say goodnight to me or good morning to her kids. But this time the house felt different. Quieter than usual. No sounds of cartoons. No laughter from the kids. No smell of breakfast. Just silence. The kind of silence that makes your heart race before you even know why. I bet she called out, "Babe?" Nothing. Kids? Still nothing. Maybe she assumed we had gone out for an early errand. Friends, maybe? Yeah, that's what she probably told herself. But I know how her mind works. Minutes passed. Her calls to my phone went straight to voicemail. No read receipts on her texts. By now, her heart was probably pounding. That anxious panic that builds slowly but all at once. She must have run to the kids' room, expecting to see them playing or still asleep. But there was nothing. No toys on the floor. Closets half empty. Drawers open. Panic turned into full-blown fear. I bet she called her mom first. Then her friends. "Have you seen them?" I could hear the desperation in her voice. I wonder if she realized it yet, that I was doing to her exactly what she had done to me. Ignoring. Dismissing. Disappearing. Her calls probably came faster. 10, 20, 30 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. I pictured her pacing the living room, phone pressed to her ear, tears streaming down her face. "Please, just answer," she probably whispered, like it would make a difference. But I wasn't there. She had ignored me for 24 hours. And now, it was time for her to feel what it was like to be invisible. And unlike her, I didn't need a phone to do it.